Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We're back with the solo telly build, the budget build. I expected it to be finished. The last video we talked about trying to get better string action. Sometimes you have to shim the neck, and that's where we're going today. I sourced some shims. I haven't used these kind of shims, but we're going to talk about them and the relation of shimming a neck to get better string action as far as adjusting your saddles and your basically your string height in relation to the way the guitar plays. So let's get to work. Camera lottery, let's get it right there. So a couple of things. If you find that you're adjusting your string height, which is your action basically, and your saddles are slammed all the way down to the bridge, that means you need to bring your neck angle up slightly. Now Leo Fender, and I talk about him many times because he is my hero, used to and invented an auto shim. And if you refer to my G&L L2000 Series E bass guitar that we restored and brought back to life, that actually had the auto shim function on it, where you loosen the screws a little bit and you can, without adding any wood underneath the neck, you can adjust your neck angle. And it was really an ingenious thing for him to design that. But if you don't have that, this is what you have to do, and this is a common thing to put in shims. Now, I have not used these kind of shims before. Usually they're only like a little bit like this. These are designed to actually go in the entire neck pocket. Again, I haven't used these before, and we're going to try it. I believe they go in this way because we need to lift this end up, and usually when you put a shim in, it's right at the base of the neck where it seats into the neck pocket. They're thinner at this edge and thicker at this edge. They come 3 to a pack. This one has, they call them degrees, 1 degree, 5 degree, 0.5 degree, and 0.25 degree. I'm actually going to measure these with a caliper. I'm not sure. This one looks like it's too thick. I'm probably going to start with the middle one, which is 0.5, and see where that goes. But I'm going to measure them with a digital caliper first, and just to see what they are in inches, because it just says degrees on here. It doesn't tell me how thick that hard maple shim is. So stand by. I'm going to get my caliper, and then we're going to do that. Right after that, we're going to de-string it. We're going to treat the neck because I didn't do that before. I want to get a little linseed oil, boiled linseed oil, on the fretboard to treat the rosewood. We also have, I sourced a black control panel cover. I think it's the right size, and I think it's going to look better than the chrome on there. It'll go well with the black pick guard against the white body and the black binding. It should tie it in. That's cosmetic, but we'll get into that as well. So stand by. Okay, so I'm back. I went and got my digital caliper, and it seems like the battery might be going dead off. I just want to get a real quick measurement on what that is. 0.074 of an inch. In millimeters, 1.73 millimeters. That is probably going to be too much. That's the 1 degree. All right, stop. The 5 degree is 1.06 millimeters. and 0.044 inches. So I'm going to start with the 5-degree one. I really only need about a millimeter to lift to change that angle. You definitely want to err on the small side. We're talking about, you know, bringing these saddle adjustments down, or actually bringing them up so we have more adjustment. There's probably 2 millimeters of the actual saddle set screw sticking up. I could put the 1-degree one in there that's almost 2 mil. It's 1.1 3/4 millimeters. But I don't think we're going to need that much. I'm going to start with the short one. If I screwed up and have to go to the thicker one, then I will. But usually with these, you want to err on the side of the smaller one. And of course, as I said, they taper down smaller at one end, thicker at the other. The thicker side is going to go towards the bridge at the bottom of the neck pocket. So I'm going to de-string it. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to keep the strings on it. I'm going to flip it over, unscrew the neck, and come right back to show you that. Stand by. Okay, so we have it. We de-strung it. All the strings are kind of flopped over this way. We're going to flip it over and unscrew our neck plate. And again, I don't like to put power tools on this. I want to do it by hand so that I can feel if anything goes goony goo goo on me. Try to keep your fingertips down on there so if it slips off, it doesn't go jamming into your brand new paint job. Which, if I do say my own damn self, this guitar looks nice with that white paint job and the black binding and the black hardware, the pick guard, and then we're going to put the black control panel plate on there. So got one left, and this is where you got to start to support it because you don't want it to jam on that screw. Be ever so careful. Don't be in a rush. You don't want your screwdriver to jump off of a screw and hit your paint job, or your customer's paint job for that matter, which is where I'm at. This is going to be, I have actually a customer lined up for this guitar already. And try to keep this oriented the same way that it came off, which is that. Never so careful. And this neck sits in there pretty firmly, which I like, and that's what you want. So we're going with the 5-degree, the thickest part of the shim, because it does taper down and get smaller. We're going to put it in there and hope the screw holes line up, which they do. Now that shim is actually going to hold to orient you so you understand. It's going to hold this part of the neck out from the body slightly. They're calling it 5 degrees. It's a little over a millimeter, the way I measured it with my caliper. So let's get back in there. You don't glue it. You don't set it in there permanently. You just want it to be in there all the way, and make sure that your screw holes are free and clear to put your screws back in through the body and into the neck. Let's flip it over and get a screw started. I can already see that it's holding up the neck slightly here, and that's what we need. Orient your plate. I know this is probably not in the video the best. I just want to get one of the screws started before I lay it down. Again, by hand. Trying to get you in the movie. Once we get one, and it went past the shim, and it's going into the neck now. Through the body, past the shim, into the neck. Just like we took it off. That should be enough to hold it secure enough that we can lay it back down. Get our plate lined up. Sorry about my bald head. And again, remember my rule, how you put a wheel on a car. You don't just go around in a circle, you go crisscross. So we got this one started. Stop just where it stops, that's where you stop. Don't force it. And start moving along crisscross pattern until you get them all to pull up. I can feel it pulling up on the neck. Just when it stops, you stop. Don't go too far. We're not ready to drive it home yet. These are countersunk, and the way they're going to grab that plate is going to align our neck and pull up that shim nice and tight. I'm sure, I'm starting, but just by looking at it, I'm almost positive that that is going to be more than enough. The 5 degree is going to be more than enough to get the action that we're trying to get on our saddles, and ultimately your string height. Now those are snug. Again, you don't have to ream them home. It's not a motorcycle. It's not a helicopter. Get them snug. We can always go back and check for snugness later after it settles a bit. Eyeball it. Everything looks really good. I can see right there where I gained, and that measurement right there where that has lifted that neck angle slightly is going to translate to our string height at the saddle adjustment. So stand by while I re-string it. I don't want to use up a whole bunch of video time trying to unsnarl this snarled up mess of strings that we have already had wrapped and locked in there properly. So bear with me, we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so we're back, and you can see I already have the Allen wrench out. As predicted, it's a good thing I didn't use the 1 degree shim in there, because the 0.5 was probably just enough, or maybe even a little too much. I could have used the 0.25. So as soon as I restrung it back up, all the strings were back on the board, which is what we want, because now we can pull our saddles back up. And by the way, all of our screws were exposed here, and that's not a good feeling when you're strumming and you scrub against them. But now I'm just going to eyeball them up, because I can tell which ones are way too low now. I'm going to level them out, and then we're going to start taking measurements again. Looks like we've got pretty decent string spacing. These do move a little bit. And again, just like any other, you want the strings to be evenly spaced on the fretboard, and you want them to go right across the magnetic pickups, the pull pieces, as it were, these magnetic pieces on the pickup. This one doesn't have them, but you can line it up there. As I'm eyeballing it, it looks pretty good. We got really even string spacing there, and I'm sure the camera's picking up on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to tune it. I just brought them up by eyeball. And we're going to tune to pitch and then start taking some new measurements. Which will be basically doing the setup all over again because we put a shim in and that changes everything. Let's get down to D. There we go. I know this seems traumatic, but this is what it is. We had it all set up and ready to go, but we weren't getting enough adjustment, and that's where it led us, putting a shim in. Now, just for curiosity's sake, I have it tuned to pitch. I'm going to go back to checking the string height because I know we're going to be adjusting this. I just know it, and you should by now too, after watching me do this a million times. Just to get an idea where we're at. Get my bionic eyes on. Where is my... pull it out. There it is. Let's just get some sort of a reference. Just by guessing 4/64, a little below 3, 4, 4. Okay, so I know they all need to come up slightly. Remember, I want it to be just below 5/64. I want it to read 5/64, but just below it. So it's between 4 and 5/64. And I know that is going to require raising these up, which is the whole exercise of putting that shim in. Because before we put the shim in, our saddles were slammed all the way down. There was no more adjustment left, and the string height was too high. Now we've gained that adjustment to be able to raise our string height now. Where before we still needed to lower it and we had nowhere else to go. So this has worked out just like it was supposed to. And we're going to check one more time. I went kind of a half a turn on each. 4/64. Still a little low. Still a little low. Came up slightly there. Yep, we're still just slightly low. So I'm going to go another half turn on every saddle. Sorry about my bulb head. Until I get this where I'm comfortable with it. And then again, we're gonna go back then and check our neck relief. It may or may not have affected that. I'm guessing it probably did slightly. Just above 4, right at 4. Still low, just above 4, just above 4. And our screws are now flush with our saddles, which is kind of like where you want them. You don't want them sticking up because they're going to bite you when you're strumming. You'll be bleeding. We got plenty of adjustment out of that. I think we could have gone with the 0.25, 5/64. Just above. I'm going to lower this one. Raise this one slightly. See, now we're getting to fine tuning. Just above 4. slightly above 4. Just above 4. Just above 4. Yep. Now we're getting into fine tuning. Just the string height, nothing else. And this could change later. We may have to adjust it again later. Just above 4, just above 4. Way too high. Way too high. So we got to bring our B string down. And fine tuning, small increments. Just above 4. Just above 4. I'm going to call that good. It's just above 4/64 going all the way across, which is following the radius. Now, I'm going to check this again periodically over the course of the next couple of weeks because wood is going to change. New guitar, new build, so on and so forth. But so far, we're looking good. Now, I want to check the neck relief real quick. And the pickup height, because we changed all the string height. We might be looking at adjusting our pickups again. There's my favorite feeler gauge. Make sure we're out here where we're going to see this. Capo at the 1st fret, hold the body joint, 7th fret. She's tight now because we changed that neck angle. But it's not so tight that I'm going to get freaked out over it. It might actually be okay. After I let this guitar settle for some time, at least a week, I'm going to come back and revisit all of these adjustments. And I'm kind of a nut. I'm going to keep doing it for a while because this guitar hasn't settled. It's going to take some time for it to get where it needs to be. Let's see where we're at in relation to tuning. And we raised our string action, so that in effect tightened our string slightly. So we were sharp. Should be sharp on all of them. Now she's reacting normally again. We're going to have to readjust our, again, neck angle is going to change, not neck relief, neck angle from putting that shim in there is going to change our intonation because it in effect raised that up and our intonation is slightly off from where it was before. Not a lot. But we went from a half a cent to a full cent. So that's something I'm going to adjust. I'm not going to leave that. I'm going to make sure it's perfect. The A is dead on. I'm getting some buzz in there too that we didn't have before. Touching something we're not supposed to be. Maybe we need to put a little oil there. That does not sound good. We may have to change our neck relief. We're getting some buzzing that we did not have before. Again, not surprising. I'm going to pause real quick. I just want to take another quick measurement, and then we're going to take this control panel apart and put the black one on. Stand by. Okay, we're golden. Got the intonation set. I know the camera's sound is picking up on that. We have the string height set, we have the intonation set, we have the neck relief set. This guitar is ready to play. Beautiful. I'm going to take some measurements as time goes by. That's just the way these things go. Thanks for coming along for the ride. You've seen everything from bare wood to opening the box, to bare wood, to sanding, to painting, to putting it together and making it play. The only thing I haven't checked is the first nut action, but the quickie check tells me that none of them are too high. I'll get a feeler gauge on that. I don't need to bore you with that. We're going to change this at a later date, but pretty much this guitar is done and it's ready to go to its next owner. And I do have a guy that's kind of waiting to play it, so I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to have it all set up for him. After a week or so, I'm going to double check everything, and he's going to go rock and roll with it. It's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. Thanks for playing along. Thanks for coming along. We'll talk to you soon.